Welcome back to New England Newsmakers. The race is on to get humans into outer space, and tonight your first look at some new plans for a human settlement on Mars, a settlement you may soon have the opportunity to actually visit right here on Earth. We're talking with one of the co-founders behind this new initiative at 4Frontiers Corporation, Joe Palaia. Let's take a look at this. Let's give folks at home kind of a look at the overview, a layout of what you're envisioning. How big are you kind of anticipating the settlement to be like on Mars, and what it's actually going to be? We can see kind of a layout right here. That's right. This is a layout, and it shows you kind of a cross-section of what this settlement is going to look like. It's 25,000 square feet, so don't think about some kind of cramped tuna can type habitat. We are going to send those initially. That's what people are going to live in while they build the larger habitat. But it's going to be a roomy, it's going to be spacious, long sight lines. It's going to be a nice place where you and I wouldn't mind living. And you're kind of targeting this in about 20 years or so is what you think you can actually have this up and going. Let me ask the question, why should people live on Mars? I think they want to go and live on Mars because of the challenge. It's going to be a difficult life, just like every life on any frontier has been. But the challenge serves to create a reason for us to innovate. It drives us forward. It forces us to think about things in a different way. And I think that's very important. I think it's something that's lacking in society today. We can kind of tell a little bit from the layout. Why don't you give us an idea of some of the different components of what you actually kind of envision for this? I know one of them is we have an idea of what you hope the living room would look like. Kind of give people an idea of what the living room would look like. What would life be like? This is kind of a drawing of what you're anticipating. That's correct. This is so this is the living quarters. This actually would be for a couple, and you can see there's some greenery there that every private space would have an area they could grow some plants in front of the window. And the idea is you get up and you look through this canopy of greenery out on the Martian terrain, and so it kind of softens this otherwise very harsh landscape. They have a greenhouse too. I know you've kind of actually envisioned that. How, and put it in layman's terms, can you actually build something like this that people can live inside and can breathe, can take a shower, or grow plants? It's completely feasible. Now, there's a lot of development work that needs to be done to get us from here to there, but we can create very nice spaces for people to live on the surface,
do we even have
and we can do it with the local materials.
I was going to say, do we have the local materials to even actually build something like
Everything is there that we need. All of the key resources are just ready. They're sitting there. Now, there's lots of processes. I mean, we're going to talk about making all kinds of materials, and they're basic materials. There are things like concrete, steel, aluminum, fiberglass, plastics, glass. But these are relatively low-tech things to do. And so it's not like this is going to be some really complex process that we're performing here.
I know you're kind of planning on testing this out, so to speak, by building a 25,000 square foot replica outside of some major city. Where are you in terms of that progress of picking a city and actually starting to build this sort of settlement?
Well, we're making some great progress. Right now we're investigating several potential locations. We're in negotiations with representatives with many different agencies, several states. We're looking at Colorado, Florida, New Mexico, and even we've been contacted by a group in South Dakota that's interested in putting the center there. And so we're making great strides there. We're also making great strides in terms of funding this. I don't think we talked about that yet, but we are partially funded at this point, and so we're moving forward with that.
In order to actually afford the materials or whatnot and to get back there and forth, how much funding are we talking about? 2 or 3 million or you know, 50 billion?
Well, for the initial step, for the outreach center, we're only talking on the order of 25 million. And that's small enough that we can get venture capital and other kinds of investment to pay for that. For the actual settlement, since this is done in the commercial realm, we can be somewhat more efficient than what, say, a government agency or a government contractor could do it for. And we're estimating in the range of $10 billion.
10 billion, wow. It's a awful lot, but you're kind of planning on working on some of the technology and the research and that sort of thing, cooperative measures to help support that and build revenue from that standpoint?
Definitely, definitely. But you have to also put it in perspective. I believe NASA just came out with their moon plans, and that's $104 billion.
Well, they've
just to go back to the moon.
They've spent so far about $150 billion since the 70s when NASA started, you know, their space program. So I guess you do have to kind of put things into comparison a little bit. Well, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some of the future of space exploration. Will this sort of thing really work? We're joined by a former NASA astronaut right after the break.